What are your different options for doing a quasi-experimental design? Remember that you would do a quasi-experimental design when you want to talk about cause and effect, but you can't do a true experiment. Well, there are many reasons you might not be able to do a true experiment. The most common reason is that you're not able to do random assignment, which means you're not able to look at a group of people or organizations and randomly put some in the group to receive the cause, the treatment, the intervention, and some in the other group, the control group, to not receive it, to just do business as usual. Be pulling people, organizations out of a hat and being you go over here, you get the cause I'm interested in, you go over here, you don't. That can be tough to be able to do that. And so people do quasi-experiments to approximate cause and effect. Get as close to cause and effect as you can without doing a true experiment. Okay, so on to the types of quasi-experimental designs. Matched comparison group. That's when you have the group that is receiving the cause and you create a comparison group that matches that cause group almost identically, ideally identically. They are the same, except the cause group gets the cause and the comparison group doesn't. They just have business as usual. You would want to think really carefully about what things do you need to match those groups on. So I did a match comparison design for my dissertation. We matched schools, we matched based on demographics, we matched based on academic performance, we matched based on the percent of students that had different learning designations. All the things that we felt were important differences between the groups that might explain why they have a difference on the outcome, on the effect that we're interested in, right? We match them so that they're really the same except for that one cause that we were studying. Let's say for some reason you can't do that because of time, money, resources, people just aren't bought into it, whatever. You could do a non-equivalent group design. And there you're basically you create a group to compare the cause group to, but you don't make sure that they match. And it's not though you're going to compare a school to a hospital, right? They're going to match in some ways, but you're not going through that detailed matching that you would for a match comparison group. You're just being you know what? They're non-equivalent groups. I just want to know this hospital's doing this cool new innovative program and I want to compare it to this other hospital that's not doing it. This honestly, it's not my favorite type of design. I wouldn't do it personally. Then we have a regression discontinuity design. I think this one's so cool. Regression discontinuity works when there is a divide and on one side of the line, people, organizations, whatever, receive the cause, and on the other side of the line, they don't. So when you can create your groups, your cause group are people who just barely qualified for whatever it is you're interested in studying. And your comparison group is people who just missed it. They didn't quite meet the qualifications, so they didn't receive the cause. Imagine something with food stamps. And there's a line at which you're eligible for food stamps. If you wanted to study the impact of food stamps on, let's say, well-being, you might do a quasi-experiment. And your cause group, your quasi-experimental group, would be people who just barely qualified for food stamps. And your comparison group would be people who just barely missed qualifying for food stamps. Lastly, you have a pre-post test design. And that is when you have one group of people, and at the beginning of the study, you give them a pre-test on the effect, whatever it is that you're interested in measuring as effect, you give them a pre-test. Then they experience the cause. And then you give them a post-test to measure if there has been any change in the effect. So there's match comparison, creating two groups that are basically identical except for the cause. You have non-equivalent group design where I don't know, I want someone to make a compelling case for why you would do that because I'm not a fan. You have regression discontinuity when there's a natural divide that you can take advantage of, use to your advantage to study two groups. And then you have the single group pre-post-test option. Those are the four that come to mind to me immediately to choose from. And I want to add, because this is a little confusing and also a hot tip to keep in mind, you can pre-post test with any of those. In fact, I would recommend it. Having a pre-test to control for in your analysis is chef's kiss. You want it. You could do a matched comparison design and also pre-post test your groups. Because we like to use the same words for different things. There is pre-post test as a research design and also pre-post test as a tool. The more you know.